Welcome back to the Quiet Mind Astrology Podcast. I'm Jeremy Devins, and this is the Friday forecast from December 13th. For the following week, here are the major transits happening. There are three significant things to talk about on Sunday, December 15th, and then on Monday, December 16th, Mercury goes direct in Scorpio. So, first of all, we have the full moon in Mrigashira in Taurus on December 15th. Plan this if you can on Sunday to take some time for celebration, doing something fun. Mrigashira is a very intelligent nakshatra, very intelligent energy. I did a deep dive exploration of this with my advanced astrology mentorship students, and we looked at some of the common patterns of Mrigashira natives. And we see that they are very deep people, very intelligent people into occult studies, spiritual studies. Occult just means hidden, by the way. It comes from the moon, actually. And this is this idea of going into learning things that are secretive, difficult to learn, difficult to understand. So this day, as Sunday, December 15th, is a great day to be in your research or studies or learning about things that you align with that are in this realm of spiritual, secretive knowledge, like astrology or spiritual practices. Some sort of celebration of those communities or those practices is very favorable on this day. And just acknowledgement and reflection on what you've learned in that part of your life. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're obviously into this kind of stuff of astrology or hidden knowledge, secret knowledge. And you may have other interests like this as well in your life. So it's a good time to celebrate those things and acknowledge what you've learned and how far you've come. I know many of you have been listening to this podcast for many years, and you've had a lot of time to really learn and learn a lot about astrology. So a good time to celebrate that and do some sort of gratitude journaling or whatever resonates with you can be very favorable on Sunday, December 15th. So that's the full moon for December. And if you want to know all of the lunar cycles for 2025, check out mindfulnewyear.com. We just had the live workshop yesterday. It was super fun. And we went very deep into all of the transits for the year. I give you several amazing resources like this planner, this calendar you can subscribe to on your calendar app that gives you interpretations. We've got all of it for the whole year already laid out in front of you. It's very useful if you want to plan any travel this year, if you got any major events coming up, planning to move, relationship decisions, commitment decisions, work decisions. It's all covered there for the whole year. And there are 8 major turning points in the year. And on the last episode, I talked about 3 of them. But if you want to hear all of them, go to mindfulnewyear.com, where you get all these awesome resources, yoga practices, everything you need to plan for the new year. And I guide you through a very powerful process. I was actually just going back through my year review from 2010. It's the first year I really did this in depth and then kept it. And so I still have those notes I took. And it's just crazy how powerful it is to review the year, plan the new year, and then see it unfold. And most of the things that I planned that first year, I really did this, came to fruition. And I can see how clearly it shaped my focus for the year. So whatever you do going into 2025, I highly recommend you take some time to get intentional about it, to look back, do some inner work, svadhyaya, self-study, and go forward with intention, because that intention starts to create what you choose to focus on. And our mind just needs a task and a job, and it will focus on whatever we put in front of it, which could be distractions or it could be our intentions. So with this full moon in Mrigashira on December 15th, Mrigashira is a seeking energy, and it sometimes is restless, and sometimes there's like always more and always more potential. A lot of people might not know this, but Mrigashira is the deer head that is actually one of the ways of describing the moon as a deer, and that's in the Vedic tradition. So even though Mrigashira is in Taurus, which is a Venus sign, and it's ruled by Mars, is a Mars nakshatra, Mrigashira actually has a very lunar moon energy. So when we have the full moon here, it amplifies this thing where there could be some restlessness, some desire for seeking and trying to find something else. But there is a good side of this with the full moon of using it as a time to review the past year and your gratitudes for the past year, and seeking for what you want to create in the new year and what is left unfinished. And it's interesting that Mrigashira and this full moon energy is very much people who are very have this strong are very much into things like Kundalini yoga, which Kundalini yoga is very commonly practiced in the Sikh tradition, which is not literally spelled like seeking in the English language. But it is kind of a little joke among Sikhs that it's like, yeah, that is part of the path to actually be seeking, like in the English word. And there's an element to this of going deeper within, seeking out knowledge, a quest for knowledge, and seeking liberation. And as you look back at the past year, you may find that there is something incomplete or something missing that you want to seek out in 2025. So, highly recommend at some point this week you do some sort of review of the year. And you can do that at mindfulnewyear.com if you want to do that with me. Or if there's something else that calls to you, then do that. Also, on Sunday, December 15th, the sun moves into Mula Nakshatra in Sagittarius. So it's going to now be in Sagittarius for 29 days and be in Mula for 12 days throughout this next week. The sun, our vitality, our power, our energy, our creativity in Mula, the root of the matter. So we find our energy by getting to the root of issues. And as Mercury goes direct the next day in Scorpio, now we can really communicate better about deeper issues and get to the root of the causes of these things, especially in anywhere you might have some sort of dispute, argument, conflict, negotiation, needing to figure things out and make a clear decision. This is a favorable time now after Monday, really, when the sun's in Mula, Mercury's direct. Now we can start to move forward on our plans and ambitions of new things. But still, Mercury's retrograde a couple more days. So if there's any old stuff you want to clear out the past, clean things up, sort things out, it's a good time to do that. But it's not a good time for starting completely new things. I talked with a student recently, and she's like, is this right? Should I get this opportunity to teach at this place? Is this the right time? Is this Mercury retrograde? Is it a bad time? And the first question I usually ask is, well, has this been in the works for a while? Because if it's been in the works for a while, then it's not something new. And it's really the new things that I've seen are the biggest problems with the Mercury retrogrades. And like you have this new idea, oh, I'm going to start this new business, or I'm going to start this new project, I'm going to start this new relationship during Mercury retrograde, and we'll see what happens. And usually there's just things you didn't see. That's the nature of Mercury retrograde, is you got to slow down if you want to speed up. And there's probably things that you're overlooking and miscommunicating, misunderstanding, not perceiving clearly. Because the buddhi, Mercury, Sanskrit word is buddhi, which means intellect. And it's part of the mind, the intelligence. And the Mrigashira energy is also kind of similar to this Mercury energy. So there's a lot of this energy this week where just if you need to make any big decisions or start new contracts or new projects that are out of the blue, go slow. Maybe you're not seeing everything clearly yet, but you will see it better after Monday when Mercury goes direct. And the full moon also has this illuminating factor where it brings things up to the surface. It actually brings up the water in the grass up more to the surface. It brings nutrients up and more to the surface in plants. So there's actually this sort of pulling out of energy and bringing things up to the surface from the roots of Sun and Mula that happens during this week. And things that are maybe hidden or misunderstood or not clear start to become more clear, more understood, less hidden, and more ready to be taking action on those things as Mercury is going direct. And Mars is sign of Scorpio, and the full moon is in the Mars nakshatra, Mrigashira. And the sun in Sagittarius is a fire sign as well. So this ability to move forward and take action now is getting clearer and more exciting for the new year. So it's exciting energy going into 2025. And yes, like my friend, again, she's had this project and she's like, should I sign this contract? It's a new thing. Should I make this deal? And because it's been in the works for a long time before Mercury went retrograde, it's a good thing. So if it were me making a decision, I would say, yeah, go for it. I don't give advice. I don't tell people what to do with their lives. I don't know what's best for anybody. But I do say if it were me making the decision based on what I know in my perspective, I would probably go for it and say it's okay. So that's all I can offer is just my perspective and my opinion. I would be very skeptical and question anybody who says that they know what's best for you or say you have to do this, you have to do that. They might be right. They might be saying that what they're saying is actually best for you. And they might be also robbing you of your own personal growth and your own life lessons and your own path and sovereignty. And that's the real issue. It's actually something I've been personally exploring a lot recently myself, which is kind of related to all of this. And thinking the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, looking back at a community I was involved in, a spiritual community, where a lot of times it was a sort of top down system. And I've learned is I really see, the narcissistic personality disorder is really was really evident in the entire system, not just any particular leader in that group. And what that means is not so much about diagnosing, but there was a lack of empathy, lack of understanding, lack of curiosity, lack of free choice among followers or people within that community. And I think any spiritual path that questions your own inner authority or makes you or says you have to make decisions that maybe are not your own decision or your own alignment, those are very questionable. So I find what I've resonated with the most, the teachers I've resonated with, and what I find actually the most helpful to people is trust your own intuition and use others as a guide and receive their perspective and feedback, but always trust your intuition and your instincts. And anyone who tells you otherwise is probably trying to manipulate or control the situation for their own gain in some way and not for your growth and for your path. Nobody can know what's best for anyone else. Nobody can interfere in other people's process. I mean, you can interfere, but it doesn't, the outcome is not great. So I think that's part of the lesson with Mercury going back in Scorpio too. It's communication about deeper unconscious motivations, secretive things. There can be manipulation with Mercury and Scorpio as well. So I think for me, it's brought more to light the levels of manipulation I experienced in that particular community and how that was not healthy. And I was aware of it before, but I just see it more clearly now and have more sort of understanding and more closure with that dynamic of what I experienced there. And there's these people are everywhere in the world. There's typically in positions of power, leadership, political power, especially places where they gain status and power and control and use those kind of tactics. And it's kind of sad that it happens in the spiritual world as well, where people are looking for some sort of answers and guidance in life in a very earnest way, which I feel I was as well, and I think many people are. So if you're looking for some sort of guidance and answers in your life, I don't have them. And I don't want to try to give them to you. But I do have my research and what I've seen in patterns and what I think I would do working with these energies. So hopefully you resonate and you find it helpful too. But you always know what's best for you. No one can decide for you. And I think it's a good time to really trust your instincts and intuition and go within and have this deeper connection with your subconscious and your motivations as you go into the new year, because the year is really an outcome of your motivations and what you're focused on and what outcomes you're moving towards. So as we look back at 2024, you can think back to what were your intentions, motivations going into 2024? Did you have any? Maybe you didn't have any, or maybe you did, they didn't pan out. Maybe you either got the thing that you wanted or you got the lesson that you needed. And that can move you closer to the thing that you want or clarify what you actually want. And we'll do that in Mindful New Year. If you want to go deeper into reviewing the past year, we do some really cool exercises there. And based on the same one I've done now, it's hard to believe it's like 14 years, 15 years. Time is an interesting thing. So, yeah, I've been doing the same process myself and I find it super helpful. So, I love to share it with you. Mindfulnewyear.com if you want to check that out. Plan for the new year with a lot of intention and clarity. And hopefully, this week for you is a lot of growth, a lot of new perspectives, a lot of depth, and this forward momentum now going into the new year with the full moon, bringing some closure to the year, going towards the new moon at the end of the year. going into 2025. Mercury's direct now. Sun's in Sagittarius. Have some fun this week. Enjoy the week. Have a great week. Look forward to sharing more with you next time on the Quiet Mind Astrology podcast.